one final question before I throw it up to the audience, on a slightly lighter tone. What skills and benefits, now that you're at work, what have you learned that you can apply in the workplace? Sam, do you want to go to that one?
I think that I am now a better, more rounded individual and human being. And I think my level of empathy has shot up inordinately. I think my sheer ability to get stuff done has changed. I mean, it strikes me, like, I'm not just talking about work, but it's even in the workplace, or my sister who hasn't got kids. I'm so busy. I think, you don't know how busy is that. I don't say that because that would make you look like a complete twat. But actually, it's, there is a different level of busyness that you achieve when you have one child, let alone 3 children. And you have to therefore get to the chase faster. My emails are so much shorter than they used to be, for example, because actually, do you need to be that long and that explanatory? If you've got a role, people want to take decisions, so take the bloody decision, get on with it. I just think it makes me a more human person. I have conversations now with, I mentor some really young people in the organisation, and I have conversations with them now that I don't think I would have thought that was the right conversation to have had a few years ago, because I would have had to be much more professional and businesslike. But actually now I'm addressing it as a human being, because I've been there and seen it, and I kind of feel your pain. So I think, it's better.
Karen?
I completely concur. I'd say I am a more empathetic leader since having children. And I don't think that's necessarily that I agree with what everything somebody else says, but I can see things through a different lens. So I think I'm more empathetic. I also think I'm more tolerant and less tolerant. So there's certain things I just think, I cannot, this is just ridiculous, get it in perspective. And there's some things where I think, okay, I need to let somebody work their way through it. So I think on some cases I'm less tolerant, because I do put things in perspective. But then in other areas I'm much more tolerant when people are taking time, or they're floundering, or they need to work through a situation or a problem.
Vicky?
Mine's kind of double-edged really, which is that I think having had James and come back to work, it's made me better at work, but also a better parent, because when I had my year off, I was just obsessive about getting James through his milestones, and it just became a running joke in my family about, like, when does James ever get a day off? Because I'm like, you will roll, you will walk, you will do all these things. And so having this focus, like, shift back to work and be able to still focus on, the goals and achievements that you have through your work actually then has a double benefit, because James has a better life now because nursery did all of that and not me. So I think it does make you a better parent at home as well as a better employee as well.
Emily?
So I said right at the start that becoming a parent is like having a superpower, and I think you can see from the panel here, it really is, absolutely is like having a superpower. But one of the things in that superpower that you get is having that perspective that Karen was talking about, and it's a weird thing. It just kind of clicks, and you do have a different perspective on things, and that really helps you in your decision making, in your management of your team, and in your management of yourself. And it's a weird thing that happens, and I have no explanation of how or why it happens, but for some reason becoming a parent and having that ultimate responsibility makes something click, and it is a superpower.
Yeah, it's very cool. I like the superpower word. I'm going to nick it. Yeah, so a couple of things on that. One, totally agree with Karen. There is two contrasting things: a quadrupling of empathy and an absolute focus on ruthless prioritization. When you're spending time doing something where you could spend that time elsewhere, you're really, really focused. It's like, no, sorry, get to the point. Okay, great. So you become much more productive. The broader point, and I would suggest if you want to be a leader, be a parent, because it's kind of the same thing. And I think it's the biggest transformational change outside of puberty that we go through, because puberty, before that, all the football players and the Transformers names, you've got the world sucks. Puberty happens, you go, oh shit, it's a bit different. There's a whole other thing that goes on in the world that I had no realisation about. And parenthood's exactly the same thing. The minute a piece of your heart is out there in the world, outside of your control, your emphasis becomes from you to them. and from an inside to an outside perspective, because you want to be able, if you can't control them, well, maybe you can do something to control the context, maybe control the outside world a bit better. So the degree of empathy is amplified hugely, and in the same way that where leadership and parenthood overlap, it's that shift from look what I've done, clever me, to look what they've done, clever me. And there are some lovely moments in that.
Very eloquently put. Thank you very much, panel. Now, over to you. Questions,